Welcome to Sophie and Jumong, Part 38. It's been 2 months since their magical wedding and unforgettable honeymoon. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'd love to know. Which country are you watching from and what time is it there right now? Drop it in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here. It was a bright Monday morning in Seoul. The sky was soft with early summer clouds, and a warm breeze passed through the city, hinting at a fresh beginning. Inside one of the most advanced hospitals in Korea, owned by the Lee Empire, a quiet buzz filled the halls. Nurses moved with purpose. Patients were guided gently, and junior doctors reviewed files with hopeful eyes. But today, something special was about to begin. At exactly 8:20 a.m., a black luxury car pulled up at the staff entrance. The security at the gate stood taller as they recognized the vehicle. When the back door opened, all eyes turned. Dr. Sophie Lee stepped out. She wore a soft cream blouse tucked into tailored navy pants. A white coat was folded over her arm, and her hospital ID badge gently tapped against her chest as she walked. Her long braids were pulled neatly back, her face glowing, and her posture calm yet confident. The morning light caught the soft curve of her growing belly, just beginning to show. As she walked toward the entrance, whispers moved like waves. "Is that Doctor? Sophie Lee?" "Yes, the one from the Namibian wedding. She's working here? I heard she was the best in her class during her master's in Seoul. A surgeon. Wow." When Sophie reached the reception, she smiled warmly. "Good morning." The young nurse at the desk stood quickly and bowed. "Good morning, Doctor. Sophie Lee. Welcome. We've been expecting you." Sophie bowed gently in return. "Thank you." 2 senior staff members, Director Han and head nurse Cho, approached with open smiles. Director Han was a tall, thin man in his 50s with glasses and a calming presence. Nurse Cho was lively, slightly shorter, and had already prepared everything. "Doctor Sophie Lee," Director Han said with warmth, "it's an honor to finally welcome you here." "I'm grateful to be here," Sophie replied. "It's my first day, so I'm hoping to observe and learn the flow. You will find our hospital welcoming," Nurse Cho added. "We've heard many wonderful things about you. From the university and, from everywhere, really." Sophie chuckled softly. "That's kind of you. I just want to contribute in a simple, meaningful way." As they walked through the polished corridors, people stopped mid-step. Some nurses gasped lightly. A few patients turned to look. Even a group of resident doctors whispered, eyes wide. "She's pregnant," one said. "And still walking like a queen," said another. They passed the pediatric ward, where children waved from behind the glass. Sophie paused, waved back, and smiled with such kindness that even the shyest little girl smiled in return. When she finally reached her assigned wing, the general surgical department, her office door had already been prepared. A golden nameplate read, "Dr. Sophie Lee, M.D., Consultant Surgeon." Her eyes softened. "This is beautiful," she whispered. Director Han gestured toward the boardroom down the hall. "Before your rounds, the morning board meeting will begin shortly. We'd like you to join us as a new member." Sophie looked surprised. "I wasn't expecting that so soon." Nurse Cho chuckled. "You're not just a doctor here, Doctor. Sophie Lee, you're one of us now, and your voice matters." She nodded, touched. "Then I'll do my best." In the boardroom, as she entered, the entire team stood. There were senior surgeons, department heads, legal advisors, and tech leads. They bowed respectfully. "Welcome, Doctor Sophie Lee," they all said in unison. One of the elder surgeons, Dr. Min, added with a smile, "We've seen you on the news, But seeing you in this room means more, Sophie bowed back. Thank you. I'm here to serve, to listen, and to grow with all of you. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. Sophie listened carefully, took notes, and asked 2 short but insightful questions that impressed even the oldest board members. When it ended, many smiled and whispered to one another. She's not just graceful. She's sharp. She'll change things here. You'll see. Later that morning, Sophie walked the ward. She introduced herself to the team of nurses, anesthesiologists, and interns. Please call me Doctor. Sophie Lee, she said with a kind voice. I'll be shadowing this week, then slowly stepping into procedures. No one argued. They admired her gentle authority. Her medical file reviews were precise, her questions intelligent, and she remembered every nurse's name by the end of the shift. At one point, a young nurse, Ji-eun, quietly asked, "Is it difficult to work while pregnant?" Sophie smiled, resting a hand on her belly. Some days are harder, but doing what I love gives me strength, and I have a great support system. Ji-eun nodded slowly. You're inspiring, Dr. Sophie Lee. The day passed smoothly. By lunchtime, word had already reached other departments. Everyone wanted to meet her, but she moved quietly, did her work, and never tried to be anything other than who she was. Back in her office, a small vase of peonies had been placed on her desk. A note was tucked inside. Welcome to your new beginning. You are seen. Husband, J. L. She smiled. Jumong. The hospital cafeteria had begun to empty, leaving only the soft hum of conversations and the scent of freshly baked rolls drifting from the kitchen. Gina stepped out of the pharmacy wing, smoothing her white coat. She had just finished organizing the new inventory of medication when a familiar car pulled up outside. Elias. She spotted him through the glass doors before he even stepped out. He wore a crisp gray shirt, sleeves rolled up, sunglasses resting on his collar. As he walked toward her, he offered that half smile she was slowly beginning to read. Mischievous, confident, but always respectful. Perfect timing, Gina said, her voice light as she approached. How did you know I needed air? Elias chuckled. You looked like you were trying to escape when I called. Figured I'd show up before you changed your mind. He opened the car door and she slid in. The moment felt casual, but under the surface something tender was forming. Slowly, gently. They drove through the quiet district streets to a hidden garden cafe that Elias had discovered a few months ago. It was simple but elegant, tucked between a row of artisan shops, with cherry blossoms fluttering down like falling wishes. At their table, Gina rested her hands on her lap as Elias set down the menu. I already know what I want, he said. She raised an eyebrow. Confident, aren't we? Elias leaned in slightly. Just hungry, but also confident you'll like this place. They ordered quickly. Grilled beef and rice for him, kimchi pancakes, and a side salad for her. As they waited, Elias took a sip of his tea and looked at her thoughtfully. I've been meaning to tell you, he began. That night, at the anniversary, when I was driving you back and you nearly passed out. I've never forgotten it. Gina nodded slowly, her gaze softening. It was a hard night, but you were there. I still remember how calm you stayed. He looked down, a small smile tugging at his lips. You didn't see my hands? They were shaking the whole drive. I didn't know what was wrong, but I just couldn't imagine letting anything happen to you. She looked away, touched. A breeze blew gently through the blossoms, making her hair flutter softly. I didn't expect to be sitting here with you like this, she admitted. Elias smiled. Neither did I. But I'm glad we are. Their food arrived, breaking the moment. Gina took a bite of the pancakes, humming in approval. Okay, you were right. I like this place. I like this moment," Elias said quietly. She glanced up, her eyes catching his. There was a kind of unspoken understanding, no need for grand declarations yet, just honesty and warmth. He didn't mention the past too much, and she didn't dig. They were simply present. "So," she said, changing the subject, "Sophie's wedding. I still can't believe we were in Namibia." Elias's face lit up. "It was magical, but I kept thinking about how you looked that day." Gina flushed slightly. "Me? You stood out," Elias said. "Not just your looks, though you were stunning." She was quiet for a second, then softly said, "Thank you. I didn't know you noticed." "I notice everything about you, Gina." The way he said it wasn't rushed. It wasn't smooth or polished. It was sincere. They finished their meal slowly, savoring not just the food, but the space between them. Laughter danced between sips of tea, and Elias reached out to brush a stray hair from her cheek before quickly pulling back. "I know we're just beginning," he said before she stepped in. "But I'm not here for halfway feelings. I want to walk slowly, but I also want to walk intentionally. With you." Gina looked up at him, her eyes shining. "Then, let's take our time. But let's not be afraid to keep walking." Elias grinned. "Deal." As they drove back to the hospital, no words were needed. Gina felt something steady blooming. A partnership not born of drama, but of quiet admiration, shared respect, and the kind of love that takes root one lunch break at a time. The sky was unusually calm that Friday morning. Pale sunlight filtered through the tall glass windows of the villa's master bedroom, soft and golden, painting the walls with warmth. The air smelled faintly of fresh lavender, and the gentle hum of city life was just beginning to stir in the distance. Sophie stood at the mirror, running her fingers over the fabric of her loose ivory maternity blouse. Her bump was now rounder, fuller, the kind of curve that made strangers smile and elders whisper blessings. From behind her, Jumong entered the room with quiet steps, holding 2 mugs of herbal tea. "Chamomile, just how you like it," he said softly, placing one on the table beside her. She turned, smiling. "You're spoiling me. That's my job now," he replied, brushing her braid back behind her shoulder and planting a kiss on her temple. "Ready for today?" Her hand slid protectively over her bump. "Yes, and nervous," she admitted. Jumong nodded slowly, slipping his hand over hers. "No matter what we find out, you've already given me the most beautiful miracle." They made their way downstairs, hand in hand, where the driver waited with the sleek white SUV parked under the olive trees. The hospital wasn't far, but this visit felt different. This was the day they would learn who they had been waiting for, a daughter or a son. And somehow the world outside seemed to know, pausing gently for them. The hospital staff greeted them with wide smiles and soft bows. The chief obstetrician, Dr. Han, was already waiting. She had known Sophie since she began working there and treated her like family. "Welcome, Dr. Lee," she said warmly. Sophie chuckled as she sat on the examination bed. "I still can't get used to people calling me that." "You've earned it," Jumong replied, settling on the chair beside her, never letting go of her hand. Dr. Han dimmed the lights and began the ultrasound. The screen flickered, and suddenly, there it was, their child, tiny, yet perfect. A nose, a curve of a cheek, a tiny heartbeat echoing in the quiet room like a gentle drum. "There's your baby," Dr. Han said softly. "Strong heartbeat. Everything looks good. Would you like to know the gender?" Sophie looked at Jumong. He nodded. "Yes," they said together. Dr. Han smiled. "It's a boy." The words hung in the air like music. Sophie gasped softly, covering her mouth, eyes shimmering. Jumong's grip tightened gently around her fingers. His eyes never left the screen. Their son. Their little boy. A son. Jumong whispered, voice hoarse with emotion. Sophie turned to him, her smile breaking through her tears. You're going to have a little best friend? Jumong laughed softly, resting his forehead gently against hers. And you're going to raise a king? The doctor gave them space, printing out the ultrasound photos and placing them in a silver envelope. As the machine powered down, Sophie lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling. Her heart felt swollen, not with fear, not with uncertainty, but with gratitude. In the hallway, nurses peeked in with beaming faces. Word had already spread. Some whispered blessings, others waved shyly. The baby of Sophie and Jumong, the hospital's power couple, was already loved by many. On the drive back, Sophie held the photo close to her chest. What do you think he'll look like? She asked. Hopefully your smile, Jumong replied. Your eyes, too. But I won't complain if he gets my ears. She laughed, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. I've never felt this kind of happiness before. It's soft and enormous all at once. He reached across and took her hand. That's what love does. By the time they reached home, the villa was already filled with soft jazz playing through the garden speakers. A small brunch had been prepared on the terrace by the house staff, who had quietly set up flowers and fruit. They had known the appointment was today. I told them no balloons or big decorations, Jumong said gently. I just wanted peace for us today. Sophie looked around the terrace, where white linen curtains danced in the breeze, and the scent of mango and mint filled the air. It's perfect. They sat together, slowly eating, or rather Sophie eating, while Jumong mostly watched her with admiration. Have you thought of any names? He asked as she sipped her smoothie. A few, she said, but I want to choose one that carries meaning. Something that connects our two worlds, Africa and Korea. Jumong leaned back, nodding. Yes. A name that tells a story. They stayed like that all afternoon, talking, dreaming. At one point, Sophie fell asleep under the shaded canopy, the ultrasound photo still tucked in her fingers. Jumong didn't wake her. He just sat beside her, sketching name ideas in a leather notebook, occasionally glancing at her and whispering, "Thank you, my love."